What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Q&A with Coach. I know it's been a long time since I've done one of these, and for that I apologize. I've been focused on the podcast and so many other projects, but I'm going to start doing more of these. And one of the reasons why I'm going to do more is, first, I think they're super helpful to answer all your running questions, but also me getting behind camera here is sometimes hard. And as you can see, I am outside. I'm in Denver here, walking to my office, and if I can do videos like this sometimes, then it's going to be a lot easier for me to do them. So now I'm going to run across the street, and you guys can watch me do that. But right now, we are going to answer a question from Pankaj on Twitter. I got a really great question the other day from him about how you warm up and race the very beginning of a marathon. And he wanted to know what are the best dynamic exercises that you do, and then how should your pacing over the first 2 to 3 miles work relative to your actual marathon pace. So, first, what is the rule of race day that almost every runner knows? That you never, ever do something new on race day. So what dynamic exercises should you do? Well, the same dynamic exercises you've been doing before your long runs, because the long run is arguably the most specific run that you're ever going to do for the marathon. And you have to mimic that on race day. So don't change your warm-up routine for the marathon. Get a good warm-up routine going for your long runs, and then you can implement that for your marathon. You can go on Strength Running and look at routines like the Matic warm-up routine and the standard warm-up routine. These are great routines that you can use. They take about 10 minutes. For the marathon, however, you might want to just cut out some of the lunges. Instead of doing 50 lunges before your marathon, maybe you only do 20. That's one little consideration you can make. And the second part of Pankaj's question was, how fast should the first 2 to 3 miles be relative to my marathon pace? So let's just give Pankaj an estimated marathon pace of 8 minutes per mile. He's trying to run 8 minutes per mile. What should the first 2 or 3 miles be like? Well, I think, if you're not an elite runner, it's best to run the first 2 miles or so a little bit slower than your goal pace. Because we don't really do any running before the marathon, again, unless you're kind of an elite athlete or extremely competitive, you're not warmed up. And if your marathon pace is challenging in any way, that's going to be difficult just to go right into your marathon pace. So I found it's really helpful for runners to actually be 5 to 10 seconds slower than their marathon pace for the first 2 miles of the race. And the benefits of doing this are several. First, it does help you continue that warm-up process. So you're running a little bit slower than what you've been training for. That helps you continue to warm up. The other thing that it does is it prevents you from going out too fast. So if you're actually trying to run a little bit slower than your goal pace, you're not going to run too fast. And in the marathon, that is a really, really crucial goal. So running slower, at least for the first 2 miles or so, is helpful in those two regards. Now, some of you might be asking, well, where am I going to make up that time? If I run 8:10 for those first 2 miles, aren't I now 20 seconds behind schedule? And the answer is yes. You are now 20 seconds behind your goal pace. Is that necessarily a bad thing? No, I don't think so, because if you are then going to go right into your goal pace, look, you're going to have some miles that are a little fast. Every runner has a couple miles that are a little fast. If there's any kind of downhills, you can make up, 5-10 seconds easy without it really negatively impacting your race. So I think that's the best approach. You could also run really even. If you're a more competitive runner, you do about 5 minutes of running before the race just to kind of get into it. I know for me personally, when I was running, I wanted to be right at about 6 minutes or 6:05 per mile for my marathons, and I would try to run about 6:05 or 6:10. Yeah, there we go. For those first 2 miles or so, and it almost doesn't work, but that's kind of the point. It makes you go a little slower. That's a good thing, but really it makes you feel like the pace is slower even though you're right on pace. So you can run even too. That's also another really good strategy. And also what will happen very frequently, and I've noticed this with a lot of runners, if they try to go out 10 seconds a mile slower than their goal pace, they'll actually just run their goal pace. And if they had tried to go out at their goal pace, they would have been a little bit too fast. So that's kind of how I think about warming up for the marathon and running those first couple miles. Just be prudent with your pacing. Probably the worst thing that you can do is run too fast for those first couple miles, because you can bank time certainly, but in the second half of the race, you're going to have to withdraw that time with interest. All right, I hope you enjoyed this quick chat with Coach Jason here as I'm walking over to my office. This was fun for me. I might do a lot more of these since I don't have to get my whole office set up going and get the lighting all perfect and all that. So we can be a bit more homemade, do-it-yourself this way, but I think it's fun. So until next time, thanks so much for submitting your question, Pankaj. And if you want me to answer your running question, find me on Twitter or elsewhere on the internet. As you see, I do exist in real life though sometimes, and happy to help.